Trump followed through, specifically on his campaign promise to release the JFK files yesterday. And it's a behemoth. Trump said it was 80,000 pages of material. It's actually about 63,000 pages, and most of it is scans of physical documents, which makes it hard to get through. So that means that if there are new conclusions to be drawn from the new information, it'll take a while for the experts to get through it all. Now, I know people are eager to find out who killed JFK and why. But I don't want to bait you here. We don't know yet, and everything you see on the internet, you should be skeptical of over the next few days. I will give you the biggest highlight from the early findings to satisfy your curiosity in the meantime. People have highlighted a particularly interesting file where a man named Gary Underhill claims that the CIA killed JFK. Here's that document. Underhill was found dead from a gunshot wound in an apartment 6 months later, and the death was called a suicide. But that's one page out of 63,000 new pages. So we need to corroborate that info with other info. Because just like one random person claiming today that the CIA killed JFK isn't proof that they did, someone claiming the same thing 50 or 60 years ago also isn't. But it's a new clue that is interesting. Now, here's the thing. I don't want to be a buzzkill, but here's some things that you should know. And as I give you this info, note that I'm going to give you a bunch of numbers and all of them are rounded, not exact. 63,000 pages is a lot of new material, but what you might not already know is that the JFK assassination records collection is 6.2 million pages. And 99% of that has already been released since 1964. The first big push to release happened when George H.W. Bush signed the Assassination Records Collection Act of 1992. And that was a watershed moment because it led to the declassification of millions of pages in the 90s under Clinton. And another thing you might not know is that in 2022, Biden actually released 13,000 files and removed some redactions. But there wasn't much new info in there. In 2017, during Trump 1, he released 2,800 documents. But it was delayed and incomplete and didn't give us game-changing information either. So this new release only represents about 1% of all material ever released already about JFK. There are some things that make this release special, though. One is the release of 2,400 previously unfound FBI records. These weren't just sitting around waiting to be declassified. These are newly found as a part of Trump's push. I don't know if they found it between the cushions of the couch or something, but it was new, completely new. And this discovery adds a layer of intrigue because it suggests that there might have been gaps in what we thought was a complete collection. Trump's release is also special because it made about 1,124 documents that were redacted fully public and unredacted. And some other interesting tidbits are in there. JFK apparently had a secret meeting with Fidel Castro and Nixon. Lee Harvey Oswald trained in the USSR, but apparently was a terrible shot. And his marriage was a mess, which is not exactly what you would expect of some Jason Bourne-like master assassin. And the files also reinforce that JFK had a rocky relationship with the CIA, which adds fuel to, I don't like to call them conspiracy theories, I like to call them alternative hypotheses, but it doesn't prove anything new. It does help confirm that the CIA and JFK had beef, though, which we already had evidence to suggest, but it helps confirm that. So where does this leave us? The JFK case has been looked into for 60 years now with almost 6 million documents. The consensus among historians is that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. So you can consider that the highest probability outcome. And there are other non-zero probabilities, like the CIA or Israel's Mossad killing him, or one of the other alternative hypotheses out there. It'll take a while to get through the new 63,000 pages, but considering that's about 1% of the total pages already released, the chances of a bombshell being dropped are pretty low. Now, as of March 18, 2025, the National Archives has stated that all records previously withheld due to classification have been released either online or for in-person access at their facilities. And this recent release was intended to cover all remaining classified documents, so nothing else should be hidden. However, there are still some documents that haven't been fully made public yet due to specific legal restrictions. For example, documents under court seal, or records that are protected by grand jury secrecy rules, or materials that are governed by IRS regulations like tax return information. There are plans to release all of those too, as Trump's executive order was to release all the files for JFK, RFK, and the MLK documents. Still, it's great to see Trump deliver on a promise, because who knows, maybe there is a needle in this haystack that will surprise us. But for now, just stay curious and skeptical, and I'll keep you posted as more important information comes to light.